Wait, hold on, hold on one second. Wait, talk smack, get banged. That's a thing.
That is a thing.
What's going on Studio 90 these days? He's just talking smack. Hard. What happened to the hard hitting analysis? We haven't seen it.
We need to bring it this week.
Yeah. So you know what? This is SportsZone.
Hello and welcome back to SportsZone. We're kicking it off with the important stuff. Studio 90, like always. I'm joined by Aaron once again. We'll be talking lots of World Cup qualifying as those final rounds of qualification games are being played today into tomorrow, and some pretty big stories across all the regions, but we'll start with CONCACAF. The U.S. men's national team on Friday in an absolutely must-win game against Panama, getting a 4-0 victory. Christian Pulisic, the architect of the U.S.'s success for most of that game. Aaron, what's your takeaway from that result? Just the U.S. doing what they needed to do?
Well, yeah, I definitely think the U.S. needed to do what they did, and they absolutely played fantastic. I think the key was playing Christian Pulisic in the middle. We've seen the games that they lost at Bruce Arena has used Christian Pulisic out wide, and that hasn't worked as well because you really want to put your best players in the middle, put your best player at that number 10 position, and I think that's what happened in this game is that Christian Pulisic in that number 10 position was able to free roam, was able to do what he needed to do to create chances, and you saw right from the beginning with the goal and then the setup for the goal for Altidore. He just played fantastic. He was the player of the game. But I definitely think another important thing was that back four. And we talked about it before, that back four was shaky in the two disappointing performances that preceded this game. And I definitely think the back four, they stepped up in this game. They looked better. Betzler and Gonzalez, they have chemistry together at that center back position. And I definitely think it needs to be considered those two playing together when it comes World Cup time. But overall, a great performance from the U.S. and a great step up from two abysmal performances that we saw from the past.
But the U.S. not necessarily out of the woods yet. A tough game against Trinidad and Tobago on the road. Do you think there was enough momentum, enough confidence to be taken from this Panama game that the Trinidad game should just be a formality?
Well, I think there is. I mean, the only thing that I personally worry about is just a let-up. The fact that they won that game so easily that they might just waltz into this Trinidad game. But it's going to be a tough fixture. I mean, any away fixture in CONCACAF is always tough because the field conditions aren't always the best, and the U.S. haven't played well on the road this year. So it's going to be tough. I still do think the U.S. will come out with the win just because of the form of Christian Pulisic alone. The kid's playing amazing. So I think just because of that, they're going to win the game. But it's definitely going to be a tough one, especially away at Trinidad. We saw today that the field conditions don't look that good. I don't know if you saw the field pretty much looks flooded, so that might be tough, but I still think the U.S. will get the 3 points.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it looks like a moat surrounding the field in Trinidad, but hopefully for the United States, they can ride on the back of Christian Pulisic all the way to Russia in 2018. But some teams that are not so settled in their World Cup positions are a couple big powerhouse teams in South America, which is where we'll shift to now, going into the final rounds of games, which will be played tomorrow. Argentina is sitting in 6th place in the table. The outside looking in, they've drawn their last 3 without scoring in the South American qualification. Lionel Messi not really getting a lot of help, going to Ecuador at 42,000 feet of elevation, needing to get a result. Aaron, it seems weird to think of a World Cup without Messi and without Argentina, but is this a real possibility?
It's absolutely a real possibility, and I think right now it's the probability that Argentina may not even qualify for that playoff spot, for the spot to play into the World Cup. And it's just amazing considering the talent they have on that team that they may not be in the World Cup. I mean, just the sheer attacking talent alone. But I think, you can put all the blame on Messi that you want, but if you watch that game versus Peru, Messi was doing all that he could, dribbling past players, setting up his teammates, but his teammates just weren't delivering at the end. And you can be as good as you want, but if your teammates don't deliver, then you can't do anything. So, you can put all the blame on Messi, say, well, he's the best player, he's got to sort of lead them to victory, but he needs help on the attacking end.
And when you look at the wealth of talent that Argentina has in the form of Dybala, Higuain, Mauro Icardi, Angel Di Maria, the list goes on. It really would be nothing short of an embarrassment if this team doesn't make it to Russia, which, as Aaron touched on, is a pretty likely possibility at this point. South America is just a mess at this point. Brazil is the only team that's officially qualified. Chile, Colombia, Peru, all sort of lingering around there and for those 4 automatic qualification spots. But shifting over to Europe, there's also some surprising developments. Teams that we expect to see in the World Cup and qualify convincingly are having to go to the playoff in the form of Italy and either Portugal or Switzerland, and teams like Iceland qualifying automatically. But I think the team we'll touch on is the Netherlands. They didn't make it to Euro 2016. It looks unlikely for them to make it to World Cup 2018. And Aaron, this is a proud footballing nation, and they still have a lot of young talent. What is going on with the Netherlands?
Well, I mean, you did touch on that young talent, but I don't necessarily consider their young talent to be world-class young talent. And when you got guys like Robin and Van Persie, obviously, who are out of the fold, they're too old right now. You know, you need new players to replace them, and they just haven't had new players to replace them. You know, guys like Memphis Depay were supposed to be sort of like the next generation, but he hasn't really lived up to the hype, and neither have that young generation of Netherlands players. And I think this is a problem not just for this upcoming World Cup and in the future for the Netherlands, is that if they can't produce, you know, young world-class talent, you know, like they have in the past, they won't be able to qualify for the Euros or the World Cup. So I definitely think that's a concern for them as a footballing nation, is producing that world-class young talent.
Yeah, as you touched on, the Netherlands, it looks like they won't qualify and in a really bad spot going forward. A couple teams, England, Germany, Poland, all have punched their spot, but that's all that we really know at this point. A lot of the games to be played tomorrow. We'll fill you in on those results and get back to our league coverage next week on Studio 90, but stick around for more Sports Zone after this.
Welcome back to SportsZone. This is your favorite segment, Getting to Third Base. I'm with Kristen, like always, and we have a special guest today, David. We have a lot to talk about. The Yankees in the AL wildcard game, they beat the Minnesota Twins, and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NL wildcard game beat the Colorado Rockies. And both Arizona and the Yankees are down tonight, and they're up for elimination, which we're going to talk about in a few. But first, a series has already ended. The Houston Astros beat the Boston Red Sox, and Chris Sale on Boston Red Sox looked to be like a top runner in the AL Cy Young race, but he pitched the first game and got the loss, and then he pitched a relief today in Game 4, and he got the loss. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why they lost to the Houston Astros. And now back to the Yankees and Cleveland Indians. Kristen, the Yankees are down 2-1. They're playing at home. Do you think the Yankees have a shot at tying it 2-2 tonight?
So I think the Yankees, the fact that they're playing at home definitely plays in their credit tonight. We saw last night they were able to perform well against their home crowd, in front of their home crowd, taking the win there in one of the more lower scoring games that we've seen this postseason. But going into tonight, they're sending Luis Severino to the hill. We saw him struggle in the wildcard game tremendously. He didn't get out of the first inning. He only recorded the one out there. So he definitely has something to prove going into the game tonight. That being said, I don't think he has what it takes to beat Trevor Bauer, who has had a really good record against the Yankees in the regular season. He's 2-0 against them in the regular season this year. So I think he definitely has the edge against the Yankees going into the game tonight. And we all saw how explosive the Cleveland offense can be with Francisco Lindor in there. You never know what can happen. So I think that they're definitely going to have a big night tonight against Severino.
Yeah, I agree. And David, Arizona is down 0-2 against the LA Dodgers, and they're playing at home, up for elimination. Do you think Arizona has a shot to win tonight?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Arizona has J.D. Martinez, A.J. Pollock, and David Peralta on the outfield. Those three outfielders are some of the best in the NL. And while Yu Darvish has been very good and almost elite in the regular season, especially with the Dodgers, he has a 3.44 ERA. In his one start against Arizona, he only went for 5 innings. While he did strike out 10, he gave up 2 runs and also walked 2 for not a very good whip of 1.4. I do think that the Dodgers probably will still win. However, Arizona is probably the toughest wildcard team compared to the Yankees.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tonight if they're going to keep the series alive. And then the last series is the Washington Nationals and Chicago Cubs. They're playing right now. As we started this segment, it was 1-1. And Max Scherzer got a no-hitter to the 7th inning, but then Chicago tied it. So we'll see what happens in that series. If the series is tied 1-1 right now, so whoever wins tonight is going to be up that big 2-1, and then they play again tomorrow at Chicago. So that's all for Getting to Third Base, and stick around for more Sports Zone.
Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our premier NFL segment, Going for Two. I'm joined alongside once again by Vince Salandro. Vince, a lot of good games this week so far. One kind of key game happened Sunday evening. You had the Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt injured his leg again, then apologizing to the city of Houston. But the Kansas City Chiefs coming away with a huge 42-34 win at Houston. So Vince, break down that game. What happened there?
Well, I mean, you saw it's hard to take a lot of negatives aside from obviously the injury to J.J. Watt for the Texans, because when you look at it, Deshaun Watson played a pretty amazing game. He threw 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Alex Smith also put up some big numbers. Defense was a little bit optional in this game, but both of those teams look like they're in pretty good spots. And I think the big takeaway from this game is, we've wondered, the Chiefs sitting at the only undefeated team in the league, are they really possibly the best team in the league? And I think this performance really solidified it. And for the Texans, it looks like it could go in the other direction. With the injury to J.J. Watt, the loss kind of brings them back down to earth a little bit. And you got teams like Jacksonville picking up a big win this week over the Steelers, and their defense looking really strong. It looks like they're kind of bringing back to the pack in the AFC East.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. The AFC North and the AFC South, both hotly contested divisions. You have the Texans currently leading the division. They did make the playoffs last year without J.J. Watt. We'll see if they can do it again. However, 42-34 in that big AFC matchup. Swinging to the America's Game of the Week, as Fox News likes to eloquently call their 425 game, but I think it truly was. You had the Green Bay Packers taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. You see this practically every year, and they called it before the game started. It was going to be a shootout. It turned out to be one, and Aaron Rodgers came out on top. Vince, what's going on with Dallas?
Yeah, I think Dallas's defense has a lot of blame to share. They squandered a pretty big lead in that game, and then they let Aaron Rodgers go down the field in 70 seconds to win the game. That can't happen. That's 2 games in a row basically against the Packers. If you look back to the NFC divisional game in the playoffs last year, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, we know, is a superior quarterback probably to Dak Prescott, so you got to give an upper hand there. But the defense has got to offer some resistance. If Dak Prescott and that offense is able to kind of fight back and get you a lead with 1 minute and 13 seconds left in the game, that's a lead you have to hold.
Yeah, especially when you score 31 points in a game. You feel like if you score 31 points in a game, you should come out with a W. But it's Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers offense. He moves them down the field better than almost any quarterback in the National Football League. Swinging to other games out in Oakland at the O.co Coliseum, you had the Ravens come in and upset the Oakland Raiders 30-17. However, Derek Carr not playing. However, just before we started this segment, Jack Del Rio announced Derek Carr will start in Week 6. Vince, we originally, when he hurt his back, thought, the Raiders season was over. Now we're hearing next week. What do we think about the Raiders' chances now?
I don't like the move to bring back Carr. If he's really got the disc fractures that he does, that's an absolute risk bringing him back this early. It seems like a panic move from the Oakland Raiders. It doesn't put a lot of confidence in your backup quarterback, E.J. Manuel. So God forbid if Carr injures himself again, that's the quarterback you're left with, and you're just risking further injury by bringing him back too early. I think, the Ravens are not a bad team. Sure, it was classified as an upset, but they have a pretty potent offensive rushing attack. So you would have, you could have feasibly seen them winning the game even if Derek Carr was playing. So I think it's a mistake and it's a big risk.
Other matchups that took place over the weekend, you had the New York Jets barely squeaking out a win against the Cleveland Browns. However, the New York Jets are 3-2, currently tied for first in the AFC East. The New England Patriots just squeaking out a win against Tampa Bay. Vince, why is the AFC East so close when people thought so many teams were not going to be able to compete with the Patriots?
There's a lot of factors playing in there. The Patriots, I think, are definitely playing a lot worse than people thought. Even this past week in their Color Rush game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they really needed the fortune of Nick Folk missing 4 field goals to carry that game out. So they just really have looked out of sort. Is it Tom Brady's age? Is it the injury to Edelman? There's a lot of different factors playing in there. But the Jets you have playing far above expectations. Their defense really kind of carrying Josh McCown and allowing him to perform it the way that he did. They had 2 turnovers inside the 5-yard line yesterday against the Browns. So I mean, if you've got a good defense in this league, that's good enough to win you half the games you play.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Now swinging to Week 6, a lot of big matchups. Vince, who do you got? Week 6 matchup of the week.
I think it's our color rush game. You got the Eagles and the Panthers, both coming off big wins, both of them looking really, really good. It may be ugly on your TV with the colors, but I think the quality of football will be really good in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to swing to the 4:25 on Sunday. Probably the America's game of the week, maybe, depending on Fox Sports and Joe Buck. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Pittsburgh kind of been lying in the weeds, not necessarily playing great football, not playing terrible football, but they've been known to play very well at Arrowhead, and it'll be very interesting to see whether or not Andy Reid's team is legit against an AFC North power, which are known to be a lot more physical. But anyway, that's all the time we have for this segment of Going for Two. More SportsZone coming to you after this. Hello, welcome back to SportsZone. This is the college football segment. I'm joined alongside once again by Vince Alondra, live from Beaver Stadium here on the campus of Penn State. They've been very hospitable to us, haven't they, Vince?
Oh yeah, they've been really nice, really nice.
Well, we're going to spin to probably the biggest upset of the week. You had number 3 Oklahoma falling to Iowa State at home. Vince, what happened down in Oklahoma?
Well, it was a trap game, and they at home were unable to get the job done. Baker Mayfield, I've talked his praise the past couple weeks on this college football segment, but if you're not able to win the winnable games, then you can't get in the big ones at the end of the season. And we talked about how the Big 12 usually will get overlooked at the end of the year because they don't have a conference championship. So Oklahoma can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye now. There's little likelihood at all that they will make the playoffs. I mean, and rightfully so if you can't beat Iowa State.
Yeah, they looked not their strongest, but Iowa State also playing the game of the century, going down to Oklahoma and winning just on the other side of the Red River. So you have Oklahoma, they have dropped now substantially in the rankings. You have Georgia and Penn State both moving up. So Penn State will be the number 3 team. You have Georgia at the number 4 team. Georgia's looking very strong so far, Vince.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, the SEC always is a strong conference, but the past couple years, it's really beyond Alabama. They've sort of fallen off. The powers that we usually see, Florida, LSU, even Georgia the past couple years have been really sort of second-tier teams, not in the big bowls, not fighting for contention in those Big Six, New Year's Six bowls, but Georgia, defense is going to get the job done, and they've got a pretty stellar defense down there.
Yeah, there was another key upset, a little bit lower in the rankings, but Vince, what was going on? Lots of upsets this week.
Yeah, it was a big week. 2 upsets in the top 10. Michigan going down. Now, going into the game, they didn't have Wilton Speight. It was announced afterwards that he fractured a couple vertebrae, and he's done for the season. So even if they were able to pull out this victory, having Jack O'Corn lead them, you maybe would have thought they would have suffered a little bit. But this blows the college football season wide open, allows teams like Georgia to make rounds, and that 4th spot is really up for grabs right now. But as we talk about Georgia moving into the top 4, I think that's a lot of disrespect for a Washington team that's still undefeated. So we see the committee and the coaches who are voting not giving that respect to a Pac-12 team who's in the college football playoff a year ago.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see because you have Georgia, who will probably be the likely favorite to have to play Alabama in the SEC title game. That'll be interesting to see whether or not they can fend off and beat Alabama. Because if they can, that's pretty much the staple. If they can do so, they're probably going to solidify their spot. But you're very correct. A good Washington team sitting currently at number 5. But Michigan State, you can never count them out against Michigan. A 14-10 win in the Big House. So very shocking upsets. Shaking up the rankings a little bit. Again, once you have Alabama with a win over Texas A&M, you had Clemson beating Wake Forest, which was a little bit closer than some people probably would have liked out in Death Valley in Clemson. You had number 3, obviously, you had Oklahoma fall. You had Penn State beat Northwestern in a place where they've normally struggled. But, again, James Franklin's club showing that they can hang with the big boys. You had Washington win again. And just lots of interesting shakeups in the rankings this week that we will see probably very soon coming from the Associated Press. And it is almost time for college football playoff rankings to come out for the NCAA. But anyway, that's all the time we have for the college football segment. More SportsZone coming to you after this. Hello, welcome back to SportsZone. It's that time of year again. It's hockey season here in the nation's capital. Live, this is ice time. We're bringing it back. Season now 1 week old. Lots to talk about. So far, Swinging to downtown, the brand new, well, let's rephrase, not brand new, but newly named Capital One Arena. The Washington Capitals 2-0 on the season, with their first win being a shootout in Ottawa, and their second one being an absolutely dominating performance on Saturday evening against the Montreal Canadiens, with a final score, I believe, 7-1. Alex Ovechkin has broken the 100-some-odd-year-old record for starting off the season with back-to-back hat tricks, currently leading the NHL with 7 goals in 2 games. It should be interesting to see whether he can keep up this pace. In other more breaking news, you have Jaromir Jagr back in the NHL, signing a 1-year, $1 million deal with a chance to make a possible $2 million with the Calgary Flames. So it looks like Jaromir Jagr will be joining Johnny Hockey up in Alberta. Should be interesting to see how that pans out. Swinging to other teams, the brand new, newly minted Las Vegas Golden Knights are 2-0 as well, with 2 wins coming in overtime against the Dallas Stars and then again against the Arizona Coyotes. What's going on in Vegas? James Neal leading the attack, 4 goals, pretty much carrying the entire Vegas offense. And then on top of that, you have Marc-Andre Fleury, a franchise goalie in his own right, shutting it down in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. Going to Pittsburgh, the defending Stanley Cup champions, they finally got their first win. However, they took an embarrassing loss over the weekend, 10-1 out in the United Center against the Chicago Blackhawks. Really kind of a shocking performance. 2 teams that are definitely, normally pegged to be some of the top teams in the league. The Blackhawks taking it to them on their home ice. The Penguins then rebounded against the Nashville Predators over the weekend. You have the New York Rangers, who have lost 2 heartbreaking games, and then a win on Sunday against the Montreal Canadiens at Madison Square Garden, losing both games, but scoring 9 goals in the process. So very interesting. However, the Rangers need to find ways to keep the puck now out of their net. Henrik Lundqvist getting a little bit more up there in age, so it'll be very interesting to see how long they stick with him, or whether or not they make the move to Andrej Pavelec, the backup goalie that the Rangers acquired from Winnipeg in the offseason. Looking up ahead this week at home and Wednesday night at Capital One Arena, you have one of the marquee matchups of the season, an early marquee matchup, Wednesday night rivalry on NBC Sportsnet. You have the Washington Capitals taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins, the defending champs, coming into what seems to be a new-look Capitals team. Very interesting. You're going to see probably a very physical matchup. There will be a lot of animosity in the stands. I saw over the weekend there was a Penguins fan in the stands for a Capitals-Canadiens game. What was going on there, I couldn't really tell you. But it'll be very interesting to see how that all pans out as the season progresses. Right now, you can't really predict much of anything. Most teams have only played 2 games. The Devils have looked really good. They're 2-0 coming out of the gates. Very young team. They're still relying on Corey Schneider in net. But, we have a long season. It's finally hockey season. We're back. Ice Time is back. I'm here bringing your hockey news to you. But anyway, for this week, that's all the time we have for Ice Time. More SportsZone coming to you after this.
Hello and welcome back to SportsZone. This is everyone's favorite AU-related segment, AU Insiders. I'm flanked by Ryan Siegel as always, and a lot of news to catch up this week for our Eagles. We'll start with the volleyball team. 3 games all at home at Bender Arena this week, sweeping all of them, including a big matchup against previously undefeated in the Patriot League, Lehigh. And Ryan, over the weekend especially, AU looked particularly good. They've kind of been so-so in their performances, but beating Lehigh convincingly in 3 sets. Do you think the Eagles have finally found their form?
I think they found their form, but I also think that Lehigh's 3 wins weren't necessarily the most genuine or biggest 3 wins. They played teams like Lafayette. They played teams like Bucknell, teams that aren't necessarily powerhouses in Patriot League volleyball. And their 3rd win was against Holy Cross. So they played well, and yeah, they only lost a set, but they didn't play any real teams. You got to look at the top 2 teams right now, definitely being American and Navy, and American and Navy will play each other again very soon. But I'd have to say, the volleyball team has found their groove. Ola Kazawa getting her 1,000th kill over the weekend. She did it against Lafayette. She was definitely on track to do it if the Lehigh match went a little bit farther than 3 sets. But yeah, Barry Goldberg, you knew he was going to have the team in form just in time for Patriot League playoffs. It's coming up around the corner. The Eagles are ready to play.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a big match against Navy in 2 weeks at Bender Arena. and the other hitters joining in and helping Kazala, Shannon Webb and Elena Elbeck, having good games over the weekend, sort of rounding into form, which is always what you're looking for, to have multiple options to hit the ball to. So the Eagles looking like they are in good form. They welcome GW this Wednesday again at Bender Arena, the homestanding volleyball team. Now we'll shift to the field hockey team. We touched on this last week. Probably the biggest matchup for field hockey of their season, going on the road to BU, playing nationally ranked team. AU is nationally ranked themselves, and probably a match that would determine Patriot League tournament hosting. The Eagles, unfortunately, were not able to get the victory. Now, Ryan, what do you think this does for the Eagles in their season?
Well, I think you're still going to have those two teams play in the finals. It's just a matter of where it was going to be. Last year, American went up to BU and won the Patriot League. So it's really all a matter of whether or not they show up to play. And all it takes is one bounce. Those two teams, BU and AU, are just so evenly matched in field hockey that it really only takes one lucky bounce for them to figure out a winner.
And the team turned around on Sunday and was able to beat Brown pretty convincingly. Do you think Steve Jennings got the message to his team and they turned it around and showed that, that loss isn't going to get to them?
I don't think it was only Jennings. I think it was the team themselves. This is a team that's shown that they won't quit. They were down 2-0 to Holy Cross and came back and won 3-2. They were down to Longwood. They won 3-2 in overtime. This isn't a team that just rolls over and dies. You had Nora Kunin with 4 goals, proving that she's one of the better freshmen in the country. So I think the team understood, as well as Steve Jennings, but I think the team really understood that they weren't going to let a loss like BU happen to them again.
And you can be sure that team will have a fire under them for the duration of the season, and especially if they do meet BU down the road towards the end of the season. So shifting gears from the field hockey, we're going to go to the soccer pitch. We'll start with the men who were able to get their first Patriot League victory this midweek last Wednesday. Nick Dimitrovic getting a hat trick against Navy, setting them up for a potentially big game against Colgate this past weekend, where they were unable to get a victory. But Ryan, a win and playing a little bit better against Colgate than they have in their previous outings. Do you think that Todd West and his young group are showing some semblances of getting where they need to be?
Against Navy, yes, it looked like they were going in the right direction. They played the game of their lives. Their first half, I talked to Todd West at halftime, and he was like, we played the best half of soccer we could. We just couldn't score. And then in the second half, they got their 2 goals from Dimitrovic, and then in overtime, they got the 3rd tally. But you got to give credit where credit was due, and you got to call it like you see it. Navy and Colgate are the 2 bottom teams with American in the Patriot League. So, the one win shot American 4 places up, and then losing to Colgate shot them back down again. So it looked like they were going in the right direction. Nick Dimitrovic was firing on all cylinders. They were pressing the ball all over the field. Matt Sloan and Oscar McConnell looked like they finally figured out, college soccer and were playing really well. But then they played Colgate, and it was just all the same mistakes. John Mino, careless with the ball. Just guys, careless with the ball, not playing midfield. Like, that's been killing the Eagles all year.
Yeah, the Eagles, as you sort of mentioned, 2 steps forward and it seems 3 steps back to square one at that bottom of the Patriot League, a place they're sharing with their women's team. The women played Lehigh over the weekend, and the women's team have been leaking goals recently, so if you're looking for a shining light there, they took Lehigh to overtime before losing 1-0. But Ryan, you got to score goals if you want to win games, and the women's team is not doing that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Coach Annabelle Herring's club, but it's gone on for a long time. We haven't seen the women score since August. We're now pushing over a month and a half of no goals, shutouts. You can't ask Riley Brown to do everything. Riley Brown's she's a young goalie. She's a promising goalie, don't get me wrong, but she's not going to be the one to give you 0-0 draws and get you points. You got to go out and score. You watch them, and it's frustrating because they have the ball at their feet. They have an opening player on their team. They have an open winger 10 yards in front of them. They decide, we're going to try to kick a ball from 40 yards outside the box. It's like you got somebody who's inside the 18. Give her the ball. She's wide open. You can have a couple goals. I don't know what they can fix other than the fact that they need more experience, but it's been a long season for both soccer teams this year.
Yeah, the improvements for the soccer teams may be beyond them at this point, but not the case for the volleyball and field hockey teams who are trending in the right direction. Look destined for hopefully some deep postseason runs in the Patriot League tournament. That's all we have for this edition of AU Insiders. We'll check in next time to see how our Eagles are doing on the field. Stick around for more SportsZone after this.
Hello, welcome back to SportsZone. This is everybody's favorite segment, Thumble, Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly in the world of sports and the world at large. So speaking of the world at large, also combined with sports, thumbs up to Mike Pence showing up to a Colts game, but thumbs down for leaving early. And I'm not saying how much money, like whatever it costs money for the Secret Service to do it, but like it was a pretty good game that he left. Like he left a Colts 49ers game, and it was, granted, both teams aren't doing as well as they're expected to be, but it was a 33-31 game, and it was a battle. And he left early. He left after the anthem. I get it. You're making a political statement, whatever. But you left a good game. At least give me your tickets. I would have taken those seats. Well, what are you going to do sometimes? What are you going to do? People need to understand, like, sports. Let it be. So in other news, you got thumbs up to the New York Rangers because hockey is finally back. Thumbs down, however, the New York Rangers, 1-2 to start the season, boys. Let's not give up 8 goals every game. Like, we've done it now. We've lost games now 5-3 or 5-2 and 8-5. Like, come on. Like, if we're scoring 5 goals, you can't give up 8. That's just, it doesn't work like this. This isn't baseball. Thumbs middle, I guess, to the New York Yankees for the fact that they're now home. But they're down to Cleveland 2-0 with probably no sign of coming back. So thumbs down to that. A thumbs up to the Capitals because they've been doing pretty well thus far in the season. Let me rephrase. Alex Ovechkin's had a season of his lifetime, and I really don't know why. But the guy's an ageless wonder. Speaking of ageless wonders, thumbs up. Jaromir Jagr back in the NHL. 44, still kicking it. There's a video of him. There's a traveling group of people that dress like Jaromir Jagr. There's a picture of it somewhere on the internet. But he joined the Jagrs that travel around to follow his games. And it's like Jagr from every team circa his age. And it's really funny. Jagr got a huge kick out of it in Calgary. But it's something that definitely was very cool to see. Some thumbs up to the New York Jets, 3-2. I was thinking 0-16. We're now 3-2. I could start talking like Super Bowl if I was Deepak. But like I said, we play New England this week. It's over. Like this little 3-game win streak we're riding, it's about to crash and burn, going back the other way. But it's nice while it lasts. First place in the AFC East, which sounds alarming. Like something happened in the NFL, but that the Jets are first place in the AFC East. But that's all the thumbs for me. Oh, sorry, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention thumbs down to Jake Elmsley because he sucks. Now I'm going to spin it over to Aaron.
Alrighty, so I'm definitely going to throw my first huge thumbs up to the U.S. National Soccer team and Christian Pulisic for their great performance versus Panama, 4-0. Pulisic the kid was just unbelievable. He was all over the pitch. He was doing everything. Everybody always talks about the fact that sort of U.S. soccer have never really had like that world-class like player, but I think this kid, he's the guy. He's definitely the guy that we're going to look back on and say he's probably going to be the best player in the history of U.S. soccer. So big thumbs up to him and the entire U.S. national team. Also, some huge, some weird countries making the World Cup. Thumbs up to Iceland making the World Cup. They're a country of like 300,000 people, and they're making the World Cup in Europe in a pretty tough group. It's pretty crazy. Also, thumbs up to Egypt, too, for making a World Cup. Another great story. Thumbs down to the Knicks. I went to the Knicks-Wizards preseason game, and the Knicks were just terrible, like really bad. I mean, Porzingis wasn't playing, but still, I would have liked to seen like a little more from them. But I guess I didn't. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, thumbs down to me. I've got a test tomorrow on a book I haven't read yet because I've been playing FIFA 18 all week. That probably wasn't the best decision on my part. Let's see what. Oh yeah, thumbs middle, I guess, to Joel Embiid, who just signed a 5-year, $148 million extension with the Sixers. Couldn't end up paying off for them, but I mean, it's a lot of faith to put in a guy who hasn't really played like more than half of the season in the NBA yet. So it's a little bit wary, but I mean, what we've seen from him, he's been great, but it's tough to sort of predict if he's going to be able to go a full season playing at that rate. Thumbs up to the Jets, who are 3-2. I'm not the biggest football fan, but that's pretty crazy because everyone thought they were going to suck this year, but it turns out like they're not going to, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's all I got. I'll throw it over to Kristen.
All right, I'm going to give a thumbs up to the MLB playoffs. Everything's been really exciting so far to watch. Thumbs up to the Chicago Cubs, who just beat the Nationals this afternoon. Hopefully the Nationals will be out next game. Thumbs up to Cleveland. They're going to beat the Yankees tonight. It's going to be over. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to have them out as well. I will give a thumbs down to the New York Giants because they keep losing. I really have nothing else to say. I'm pretty much just speechless at this point at them. And then I'll give a thumbs up to Ryan. Today, Ryan and I were producers for our class newscast, and I truly could not have done it without him. He was a great co-producer, and I think that it turned out well. So that's all I have today. I'm going to throw it over to Vince.
All right. So, oh, geez. All right. I will go right off the bat. I'll piggyback off of Aaron's thumbs up to the U.S. beating Panama 4-0. Pulisic, it's the real deal. My guy, Bobby Wood. Love me some Bobby Wood. The Hawaiian in Germany getting it done, getting a goal. They looked really, really good. So fingers crossed they can get the job done in Trinidad and get across the line into the World Cup where they should be, and then they can figure out their lineups and their defense and all that sort of stuff once we're comfortably in the World Cup. I'll throw a thumbs up to the big 1-7 gunner, Alex Iwobi, scoring the goal to send Nigeria to the World Cup. An Arsenal player, but always good to see them doing well on international duty and getting Nigeria back to the World Cup where they belong, an African powerhouse in their own right. But I'm going to thumbs down the international break overall, particularly Jurgen Löw in Germany. What are you doing? You've qualified for the World Cup and you decide to play, Shukran Mustafi. He tears his quad. He's probably going to be out for the next 3 months. You qualified. Why do you need to play him against Azerbaijan? Just play some no-name. Your group was terrible. You're like 8 points above Northern Ireland. You don't need to be playing your big guns, and now the ramifications are going to be felt for weeks and weeks. But overall, the World Cup qualifying, I'll just give the thumbs up overall. A lot of good team, or a lot of surprising teams. We got Iceland making it to the World Cup. Denmark, Christian Eriksen getting his team into the playoff. Lots of interesting things. But I will throw a thumbs down to Argentina because it's embarrassing that they possibly could be in a position where they're not going to make the World Cup. They've got Lionel Messi, they've got Paulo Dybala, they've got Mauro Icardi, they've got Angel Di Maria, they've got Nicolas Otamendi, they've got all these guys, and they can't make the World Cup, and it's embarrassing at this point. And we talked about it in Studio 90. You can't lay all the blame on Messi, but Jorge Sampadolia and all those involved in the Argentinian FA, it should be embarrassed with themselves because they've got generational talents that they've just wasted, not just in this World Cup cycle, but in all the tournaments that they haven't won previously. And so, jumping from soccer, I will give my one football-related thumbs down to the Steelers, thumbs down to Ben Roethlisberger, thumbs down to everyone on that team. They should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves. They should have apologized to the city of Pittsburgh in a similar fashion to what J.J. Watt did, because that was an absolute despicable display by the team on Sunday. 5 interceptions from Ben Roethlisberger, making Blake Bortles look like Tom Brady, making Leonard Fournette look like, LaDainian Tomlinson, letting him just, Mack trucks could have driven through the holes that the defense allowed. The team is just in shambles, and they're going to Arrowhead this weekend to go under the guillotine. They're going to get destroyed by Kansas City the way they've been playing. 1 week is you can make an excuse, but they've played terrible 5 weeks in a row. This team is just not very good. This team is not very good at all. It's been a long time where I've not been excited for Sundays to come. I am not excited to watch the Steelers play ever anymore. They are embarrassing. And with that out of the way, I guess I'll throw a thumbs up. It was Ryan's birthday this past week. Kristen was in the studio, made him a birthday video. She also made Justin a birthday video, so we'll throw a thumbs up there. I was no help at all with that, so she was on top of all the birthdays, making those videos. So just wanted that to be known. We'll throw a thank you to Aaron, to Kristen, to Aviva, to David, who was here for the first time, to Ryan in the back. Ahmad and Elias were here helping us get our studio set so we could bring the episode to your living room, computer, wherever you watch the show. So for everyone here at ATV, thanks for watching SportsZone, and we will see you next time.
Sequel birthday tribute was like 99.9% also with Vince Salandro, and pretty much every shot was me and Vince. Oh, it was fantastic. I teared up. Like it was emotional. But I was like, wait, there's Vince. There's Vince and me again. It's Vince and me again. Okay, Deepak, Vince. Justin got can I be Kelly? That means I'm like 30 years younger. All right, here we go. Everybody. It's actually not that exclusive if it's on my Facebook.
I'd like to break your normally scheduled sports programming to bring you this breaking news.
No, like real talk? Yeah. Oh, try a little two alike. I'm sure there's no blood. He shocked it out of me when I was a kid. I can give you a better one. I mean, wait, Derek Carr's actually going to play this in week 6?
He broke his back. What's he doing?
I don't know, Vince. And can we also talk about the fact that the Jets are 3-2 and the Giants are 0-5?
The Jets tied for first in that division.
It's absurd. It's really absurd. I thought we were playing for a draft pick. Why the hell are we winning?
Maybe that's what they should do. They should just gear themselves so the expectations are so low that
they start winning.
Yeah.
However,
what are you saying about my plaid shirt, Cody? You think I can't hear you?
Well, see, here's the funny thing. Cody, I was literally about to toss to the intro, and then you started talking shit about his plaid shirt.
You got a problem?
I was literally about to say, but let's save that for the segment. This is SportsZone, and you it up, Cody. Hey, Kristen, can we dock his pay? Can we take some hours off his timesheet? So anyway, you got 4 teams on bye this week. You got you got the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Bills, and the Bengals on bye this week.
Some of those teams.
Dude, Philly, Carolina, that's going to be an ugly color rush.
Oh, gee, that's
going to be a color rush. That's going to be a color rush game. That's absurd.
I don't want to see that type of blue at all.
It's going to be like the baby Carolina blue. It's going to be ugly. Oh my God.
If the Eagles
the Sunday night game is Giants Denver. That's just sad now. Then you have Oakland playing Pittsburgh, Kansas City. That's going to be a good game.
That's going to be a.
Hold on. Why don't we just save this for the segment?
That's true.
But first, this is SportsZone. What are you talking about? We just gave you 2 intros. You started talking about my co-host plaid shirt. Now you're in my ear while we're giving you an intro.
Cody, let me
Where do you get off, Cody Cohen?
I'll just give you some words of wisdom from my buddy Jamie Vardy. If you chat, you get banged. Chat, get banged. Aaron knows what I'm talking about.
Are we doing an intro or where do we start? Well, Aaron's chatting you're gonna get banged. Wait, hold on.
Your phone's on the
Okay,
table.
let's do
Get
this.
your phone out of the shot.
Okay.
I just want to look good on camera, all right?
I'm annoyed that we have to put in the OTS graphics on our newscast. I'm sorry, but that's bull.
So we have to go
It was
like,
a clean newscast, and I have to now go in and put in OTS graphics because they couldn't figure it out.
figure it out.
They need to get their shit together. What do you want me to do?
That's true.
What do you want me to do? What are you doing?
Come on.
It's like, oh,
Come on. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, it's really like a, come on, man.
Yeah.
How you play today is how you will be remembered. We are. Funerals and today. That actually wasn't terrible. That wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible.
I thought I was in the locker room there against the I forget who they even
Xavier.
play- I forget who they.
Xavier. How you play today. You know, we're at the cemetery.
Yeah.
It's how you will be remembered. We are.
Marshall.
We are. Funerals and today. What are these? 1x4s? 1x5. Same length, just less board. Got a coach from Jack Langle from the College of Worcester. Worcester? Where the hell's Worcester? Does it really matter? All right, we're ready for this. Cody lost his keys. Or somebody lost his keys. That's code for I want to. Okay, 1 second. That's why I'm vehemently tapping the microphone. Wait, hold on. Because we lost to BU, we dropped to 31 in field hockey.
It was a 24-25 matchup. On the road.
All right, here we go. I have 5. We're only talking about 2 big games. There was 2 big upsets. What was the second one?
Are you serious?
No, we're
And the episode is good.